Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. Seeing as this is a bit of a novel setup, I'd just like you to check whether all this is coming through okay. Can you see the image? Can you hear the music? Can you hear me okay? No music. Top box is blank. Yeah, the top box is meant to be blank. As for now, cannot hear music. Right. Just a second. How's that now? Uh-oh. Goblin, no. Excellent, so you guys can see the table, hear the music, everything's coming through okay. Is my voice sounding alright? Everyone's saying that goblins come to play me. Sounds good, excellent. Well folks, welcome to the Tuesday night stream. Doing something a little bit different tonight. So as the guys who have been kind of tuning in every week have known, usually I kind of do painting or sculpting or whatever. But tonight I'm going to be trying something different. So tonight I will be playing a game of ArcWorlde 2nd edition, so all you guys can see. Plus I'll be testing out the solo rules. So we'll see how those go. Bear in mind, these are literally I finished writing them 2 days ago, put them out there, so might be a little bit clunky. There might be a few little snags, so I'm not sure if I'll upload this video once it's been streamed, depending on how well it goes. But it'll be interesting to see how it works, and obviously you guys can get a little bit of an idea of how ArcWorlde works. Yep, No more cooking miniatures, absolutely not. So before we get cracking, just want to ask what you guys are up to tonight. So are you going to be painting? Are you going to be just chilling? Or are you going to be sat there taking notes for the whole game? Thank you for sending me those Blood Bowl Giant rules, Mal. Thank you very much. I haven't had a proper look at them yet, but it's definitely very, very interesting. Pizza, cider, and taking notes. Very nice. Jazz has work in the morning. Work? You're actually working in this environment? Are you sure? Lord Maiden tempted to paint my halflings that I sprayed earlier. Very nice. Les painting halflings, of course. Painting 10mm beast folk. Ooh. Making bases and painting Kickstarter arrivals from Wayne. Alexander saying excited to see solo rules. Much appreciated that the game will have this function. Going to be doing some house cleaning. Very, very constructive. Tiny Magic is painting Albion. Very nice. We seem to have quite a good group tonight. Obviously, still quite a few familiar names and faces. So, before we get cracking, if you are actually thinking about really using this video as a way to learn a little bit more about the rules, what I would suggest is going to the Warplot Miniatures website and downloading the rules so that you can kind of see what I'm doing. I mean, obviously I will be talking through things as they go along. The reason why the black square there is because I can pop up stat cards. So whenever I'm kind of talking about moving a model and to kind of activating them, you can see that the card on the screen so everybody can kind of reference it, and I can talk about the attacks and things, and you guys, even if you don't have the rules, will know what I'm talking about. But obviously these are meant to be kind of as kind of reminders, I guess. But to really kind of the more complex rules, I would recommend downloading the faction rule sets for the halflings and the elves, and just using those as a bit of a reference. Good to see you, Dad. Have you got this on the big TV again? And how's the music this time? Lord Maiden, one thing I noticed for the mount equipment, you say they give agile, but so agile does. I eventually found it as the Trollhounds have that trait. Yep. So agile is a kind of a really common trait that's kind of throughout all the factions, but I will be sure to kind of add it to each of the main kind of faction specific rules. Yeah. So I'm actually quite pleased with how the kind of the camera angles turned out. So I was quite worried because I did I did suggest this stream kind of let's say I was a little bit overexcited, and then I was like, oh yeah, I've just finished the solo rules, I can do a live stream and I can show everybody how that works. And then I posted about it and announced it, and then afterwards I'm like, oh, I actually need to figure out how I'm going to do this. So yeah, this might be a little bit rough and ready, but if this setup does work well, and I'm hoping it does, one of the things I am hoping to be doing potentially on the Tuesday live streams is doing interactive games of ArcWorlde. So each week I will kind of get two or more players each, and kind of they will tell me what they plan to do each activation, and I will kind of move the figures about and stuff like that. So it kind of allows you guys to see the game in more depth. It allows people to play games if they don't have anyone at home to play with against other people. Obviously we still have the solo rules, but to my knowledge, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure if any other company does this, probably because it takes a blooming long time. But you know me, I'm a glutton for punishment, and I think it will be a really, really nice touch if people can kind of play games of ArcWorlde against each other over thousands of miles and time zones. So yeah, so if you guys would like to see something like that, please drop a comment below. There's my feet up. Okay, so just before we get cracking, I'll explain the scenario. So the game we're going to play is just to try and test things out and see how things go with this setup. Oh god, the music is too loud again, for God's sake. Better now. See, so I do think that the music does add something to the stream. Like, I've kind of listened back to some of my older ones where I didn't have any music, and it does get a bit awkward when I'm not saying anything, but it isn't half a pain in the bum to get right. And I think also, because I'll be moving around quite a lot, I've kind of had to turn my microphone to a different setting. So normally I have it as a very kind of focused pickup point, because obviously I'm sat down, I'm painting or sculpting, and I'm in one place, so it can kind of focus in on me. But because I'm kind of walking around the table, I've got it set to kind of God, I don't know what it's called, but surround sound basically. So if my voice does sound a little bit more distant, that'll be why. Yeah, I literally just found the playlist now, because obviously I'm very limited to what music I can play on these streams, because I've already had some big naughty men bang on my door and tell me that apparently some of the music that I used for the past few streams, where it did say it was copyright free, was lying to me. So I've had to kind of jig about with those videos to make sure they're not breaking any laws. If the music is on 7 now, maybe a 4 would be good. Right, is this better now? I feel like this is always going to be a kind of the start to every stream, is kind of tweaking with the music. Is that too loud? No, that's too loud. Is this too loud? Yep, it's too loud. So I think next time I do one, I'm going to just go for the quiet and then move up. Oh, for God's sake! Ah! Right, this is slap bang in the middle between the last one and the one before that. Like, I do generally think that it must just be people's different speaker settings and stuff like that. Okay, so this seems to be getting. I need the final confirmation from the father himself, because he's obviously the most critical. That's it, Alex. Hey! Finally, we've got it. Right, cool. So let's get into the game a little bit more. So we have just a normal clash between the halflings and the wild elves. Just a second. Where I'll put it. Yep, so this is a standard fight between the wild elves and the halflings over some Arcanite tokens. Now, these are slightly different to the ones that you guys got. These are the ones I use for my demos, and I've adjusted them slightly that they light up. So they have these little kind of party lights here that I've drilled a hole into the Arcanite, and then when you take off this tab, they kind of shine. But I think the battery's gone on a lot of them. Like, there we go. You can kind of see one like this. It's a bit on its last legs, but normally it shines a lot brighter than this. Yeah. I think for the next stream I'll have to get some more batteries for them. So I'll place a number of Arcanite tokens just around the board, and they can be like objectives. So in addition to obviously wiping out the other side, we're going to try and collect as many of those as possible. Dagvin saying, please use the new faction dice. Well, I'd love to, but I've only got one of them. So we have the elf one here. But I'm afraid to say that Goblin's been up to her tricks again, and when I was photographing them for the web store, she kind of likes to jump on the desk and start batting them about and stuff. So I don't know where the halfling one's gone. It's disappeared again. So next time I'll hopefully try and find it. So out of the guys in the chat, who of you have already played a game of ArcWorlde? Or are you looking at this as like first time and stuff like that? Dagfin's quite upset that it's particularly the halflings who lost. Lord Maid and I played a game of first edition. Well, this is pretty much completely different to first edition, so you're going to be learning a lot. My dad's saying, can you not put Goblin out on the landing? I don't have a landing. Wayne's only played a few games. Dagfin's played it once now. We all know that's a lie. Come on now. Time Magic's played twice. Oh, cool. So, kind of a mix of different kind of experiences and stuff. Les is saying that he played a few games when the beta rules went up. Excellent. So, just before we get to the main game, I'll explain what the factions are. So, each faction is exactly 410 gold. I tried to stick to, well, I say tried, I did stick to the starter warbands for both the halflings and the wild elves, just because I thought that's what people would have, kind of keep it simple. This is a game setup that we're quite familiar with in Team ArcWorlde. This is our go-to one when we go to trade shows and stuff like that, so fingers crossed, it should go all right. So before when you set up a game, you go through the deployment and stuff like that, but seeing as this is, just like a live stream, I thought I'd just get straight into it. So on the halfling side, we have the sheriff, and his name is Jeffrey McTavish. You can see here on the stats card in red where you can kind of customize them. So at the top there is a blank space for you to write the name of your character, and the GP is blank, and this is where you write how much gold your character costs. In addition to, obviously they have their base cost, but they also have the costs of any items and equipment. Now I haven't given Jeffrey any items and equipment, as you can see here. That's where you would write down any that you would equip them with, and you'll see that with the other characters, but Jeffrey is just on his own. And HP, now there's a space here that if you laminate your cards you can kind of track HP, but seeing as it would be a tad difficult to kind of do this in a way that would be visually appealing on on the stream, what I will use are these D20s here. So when a model takes hits and takes wounds, I'll just pop it there just so I can keep track. So we have Jeffrey, who is the sheriff. We have Chips Johnson here, who has a crossbow, which is, if you can see on his stat card, a ranged weapon, so he's a halfling militia. Then we have the other crossbow-armed halfling militia, Mickey Longshanks, so he's here. Then we have the militia with shields. So on this side we have Tommy Fish, and on this side we have Pickles O'Reilly. Then we have two militia with torches. So we have Jimothy Spat here, and then on the far right hand side we have Fred Timble, and then in the middle here we have Muffin the Trollhound. Now on the elves side, if you can see over there, I would go and point to them, but I kind of need to be at my computer for this bit. We have the War Chief, who's on the left, and his name is Azrael Bladesinger. Now he has a Fey Blade, which is a piece of equipment that is specific to the Wild Elves, so that's only found in their faction armory, and what that is, it's a weapon that counts as both a ranged weapon and a two-handed weapon. So a ranged weapon gives them access to the ranged weapon attack, which is a separate attack which allows you to make attacks at range, as it says on the tin. That's in the armories. And it also, the two-handed weapon, it increases the power of your attacks, but it makes it more difficult for you to defend hits in combat. But we will get into that a lot more in detail when combat happens. Then on the right we have Thare Windcaller. He is a Wild Elf warrior with dual weapons, and those dual weapons just allow you to make more attacks. And then not on the board, because these characters aren't deployed at the start of the game, they're summoned in. We have two Wood Fiends, so I have the Splintered one and the Ashen one. And then we also have Skyleaf, who is the Lycan Hawk. So now that we've got a pretty good idea of each of the factions, we shall get cracking. So, start the game. Each side rolls a d6 to see who goes first. In the solo games, I will roll for both sides. So for the halflings, they roll a 6, and for the wild elves, rolls a 2. So the halflings go first. Now, just a second, just need to grab the tape measure. There we go. Right, so first I think I shall activate Muffin. So Muffin has a movement of 6, so that means for free she can move 6 inches. So every character has a free movement that doesn't cost any AP at the start of their activation, up to their movement stat. So Muffin will move 6 inches to here. Now she's not quite in base contact with this Arcanite token, so what we'll do is we'll do a leg-it roll. Now, the way that leg-it rolls work is essentially it is your character's attempt to push that little bit extra harder, just try that little bit more, and move further than they ought to, essentially. Now, this is quite risky because if you try too hard, then they fall over and they become prone. But it can actually, if you're lucky, you can move quite large amounts of distances in addition to your main movement. So the way that you do it is you roll a d6. Now, the number that you roll on the d6 is the additional amount that the character can move in inches. So because we rolled a 4, Muffin can move an extra 4 inches. And that gets her in base contact with the Arcanite token. Now, this costs 1 AP to do this, but once you spend the AP, you can do that as many times as you want until you fail. Now, to fail a leg-it roll, you have to roll a 6 on the first roll. So essentially, imagine that the character has tried a little bit too hard, kind of slipped over themselves and fell over. Now, if they're lucky enough and they stay on their feet, they can roll again for no additional AP cost. But the next time that they roll, they fail on a 5 or a 6. So as they get a little bit more tired, it means that they can't move as far, they're more likely to fall over. And this kind of increases every time that you roll. So the first one is 6, the second one's a 5 or a 6, the third one is a 4, a 5 or a 6, and so on and so on and so on. Like, as I said, this has an ability to really go large distances in the game, but it is very risky if you don't want your characters to fall over and be prone and defenseless, essentially, towards attacks. So now that she's in base contact, what I will attempt to do is pick up the item, the Arcanite token. Now, to pick up an Arcanite token is an easy feat. So essentially, a lot of the actions in the game, they are boiled down to feats. So either they are kind of preset feats, like picking up an item, like the rules are in the rule book, but it also allows you to create your own actions. So if you're playing a game and you have an idea of something really cool that you'd like to do, that your character would like to do, then you can attempt to do those actions and kind of role play a little bit. We'll go into that a little bit later, but at the moment we'll just attempt to pick up the Arcanite token, and that is an easy feat. So for an easy feat, I will spend 1 AP. So the way that you do feats is that each difficulty level of feat requires 1 more success, which is a 4+ on a d6. So for example, an easy feat requires 1 success, so 1 4+. A medium feat would require 2. A hard feat would require 3, and a legendary feat would require 4. Now, it's only an easy feat, and they only have 1 AP, so I shall spend my last AP to attempt 1 dice to pick this up. So if I roll a 4+, so a 4, a 5, or a 6, Muffin will pick up that Arcanite token. And it's a success. So she rolled a 4, which is a success, which means that she now carries that Arcanite token there. And that is the end of my turn. Now, Dagfin, yes, beasts can pick up items, but they can't use items. So this is something that we'll go into later on, but any character can actually pick up items, but it requires only like certain characters can only use certain items and stuff like that. So now it is the Wild Elf's go, and because we're using the solo rules, usually in the rules you can use any kind of ways that you want to determine which character goes first. You can either do it so the nearest enemy character to you activates, which hasn't been activated already. You can kind of assign random numbers to each of the characters and then kind of roll that, or use cards or something, you know. It's up to you. I've left it quite open depending on how you feel like doing it, but just for ease at the moment I will use the which one is closest to to the halflings. So at the moment, they seem pretty equal. So I'm just going to activate the Wild Elf Warrior. So let me just get up his stat card. So first of all, I will need to roll on the behavior chart on the solo play rules to see how he will react in this activation. So we've rolled a 6 for Tharay, and let me just read out verbatim what a 6 means. So a 6 is a glory hunter. So the feral character spends their full movement as well as up to 2 legate rolls to move towards the player control character with the highest gold points cost and engage in melee combat. So this, for me, in my warband, it is the sheriff. So he will move his 5-inch free movement, and then 2 legate rolls. I think I'll use the Wild Elf dice. So legate roll number 1. So I rolled a 6, which normally would mean that the character would fall over. However, the Wild Elves in particular have a special rule called Agile. Now this is a trait that's on their stat card or on their profiles, and this essentially means that they're a little bit more kind of nimble than your average person, and it allows them to re-roll their first failed legate roll. So because that normally would fail, but they are agile, it means that I can give that another go. Rolls a 6 again. So even though he was agile, he's just really not feeling it today, and boom, he falls over. So because he becomes prone, that is the end of his activation, and now it's back to mine. So I'm next going to activate Sheriff. So I will just get his stat card up. So Jeffrey McTavish is the sheriff. So he is going to, he's going to use his ability, Make Orders. Now, the halflings are in the Kingdom of Civilization, which is the group of factions which are kind of the more kind of civilized nations. Each of the factions in ArcWorlde are kind of grouped into these kingdoms, which are similar playing factions that have similar themes and stuff like that. You have the Kingdom of Civilization, which are the halflings, the Imperials, or used to be called the Albionicans, and the Norsefout, because they kind of come from civilized countries. You have the Nomad kingdoms, like they're the kind of factions that move around and kind of raid and pillage and stuff like that. They're the Beorcs, the Beastfolk, and the Gremlins. You have the Fey kingdoms, which are the factions which are focused more on magic and summoning creatures and stuff. And they have the Wild Elves, the Dark Lords from Troubles in the North, and one of the factions that is due to be released, which are the Wizards. And then you have the Kingdom of the Dead, and they are the undead factions, which, does as this says on the tin, talks about they rely a lot on kind of raising fallen characters, and they are the Undead Raiders, which are in the last Kickstarter, the Ancient Dead, and the Vampire faction, which are yet to be released. So, what are the common things that factions from the Kingdom of Civilization can do? They can make orders, which allows them to activate more. The commanders can activate their kind of troops in one go. So the halflings, they have 2 commands that they can make. They have, just getting the rules up. They have as one, so up to 3 characters of the same type may activate together. Any attacks must be made against the same target and are rolled one after another. Or stand firm. Up to 3 characters of the same type automatically pass all bravery tests until the end of the round. Now, we don't really need to pass the bravery test at the moment because there isn't really any danger at this point. So I will spend 2 AP, and all this detail is on the halfling faction rule set. Spend 2 AP to activate these guys. So all of them will move forward 4 inches. Now this is just to show you guys how that would work. At the moment there's not really that much point to do this because usually you would use these kind of orders to attack kind of characters all at once, which can have its own benefits and stuff like that. But I just wanted to show you how that would work. So for now I shall end the activation, and then I shall go to the Wild Elves. So because the Wild Elves only have 2 models on the board at the moment, the next one to activate is the War Chief. So we'll see what his behaviour roll is. So his behaviour roll is a 5. Which, if you look at the solo rules, 5 is a bully. So the feral character spends their full movement as well as up to 2 legate rolls to move towards a player control character with the lowest HP and engage them in melee combat. If at any point they move close enough to use their ranged attack, they stop their movement and shoot if possible. So the War Chief, the cheapest model in the Halfling faction is the Troll Hound Muffin. So the War Chief will move 5 inches there. Then first legate roll, just the 1. And was it 2? Up to 2 legate rolls, yeah. So second one. Oh, that's a 6. So because the War Chief is agile as well, he gets to re-roll that. 6 again. So even both of these elves must have been drinking a bit too much the night before, because they are both not prone. So because there's no more models on the board, on the opponent's board, I essentially just get to activate the rest of my characters. So just for now, I'm going to move these 3 a little bit further. And that is the end of my turn, and therefore that's the end of the round. So at the end of the round, everyone's AP comes back. Everyone gets up again if they're prone. And we start afresh. So, just so it's a little bit quicker, I'll use the Wild Elf dice for the Wild Elves. Just the normal dice for the Halfling, seeing as we lost that one. Let's see who goes first. Oof. So the Elves got 1, the Halfling's got a 6. So we shall. I should go first. So I'm going to activate this crossbowman here, who I believe is called Chips Johnson. So Chips, because he has a crossbow, and if you check the halflings stats, the halflings faction rules, if you look, so the crossbow essentially has its own attack, so the details of this are in the armory. So the ranged weapon, the halflings use all manner of ranged weapons, from simple slings to bows and crossbows. Regardless, a halfling with a ranged weapon can make this attack. Power 5 and a 12-inch range. Now, for the ranged attacks, they don't have an AP cost, because the way that ranged attacks work in ArcWorlde 2nd edition is that they are feats to achieve. So you can essentially choose the amount of AP that you want to spend. Each AP gives you a dice to roll, and to make a shot, A needs to be in range, and B, it needs to... hang on, lost my train of thought there. Yeah, it needs to be in range. So the halfling ranged weapon has a range of 12 inches, which is just a bit shy. Now, you can pre-measure in ArcWorlde, that's not a problem, because he's... Did I move him? I'll assume that I didn't, I can't quite remember. You can do a legate roll. So roll 2 inches. Now I believe that is enough to get in range. Yeah, there we go. So because he had to do a legate to get into range, he only has 1 AP left, so I can only spend 1 AP to roll, and I need a single 4 or more. And that's a success. So Chips rolled a 4, which means that the shot hit. Now, a ranged attack has 5 power. Now, what power is that is the number of dice you roll when attacking. So when you roll the dice, each 4+ is a hit, and each 6, which is a critical, is a double hit, essentially. Hang on. Jacko, has the rule for getting up changed? I thought they could only get up when it's their turn to activate, where they use either their movement or spend 1 AP. Yes, that's if it's within the same round, but at the end of the round, everyone automatically gets up. So we shall roll 5 dice for 5 power. So we got 2 5s, a 3, and 2 1s. So out of those 5, we got 2 hits. So now it is the turn of the Wild Elf Warrior to defend. So let me get up his stat card. So the way that defending works in ArcWorlde 2nd edition is that you roll a d6 to defend each hit that you have taken in an attack, and then if you pass that, if you get a 4 or a 5, or even a 6, which is a critical defend, which defends 2 hits, it allows you to then attempt to defend the next one. And this kind of means that if you fail the first roll, then all of the hits that you've taken are not defended, and they get deducted as HP. So it can be really, really brutal if you're unlucky with the dice. So because Thare took 2 hits, I shall start by rolling 1 dice, and I got a 6. So 6 counts as 2 defends, which means that both of those hits are negated. So the shot, even though it hit its mark, didn't take away any HP. So on to the Wild Elf's turn. Now the character who is the nearest to one of my characters is the warrior that was hit at. So I shall activate him first. Roll the dice to see how he will respond. So he rolled a 2 on his behavior chart, which means that he got territorial. The feral character does not move unless a player-controlled character is within 3 inches. If so, they must immediately spend their free movement towards them and engage them in melee combat. So, because there is none of my characters in that 3-inch range, he's gonna stay put. Now, he's fulfilled the rules outlined in his behavior roll, so that means he then moves on to seeing whether or not he can use any of his traits. Now, the Wild Elf Warrior has a trait called Summoner, which is a common one through the elves, and that essentially allows them to summon wood fiends or lichen hawks onto the table. Now, in the solo play rules, if to see whether or not they use their trait, they roll a d6. On a 4+, they use it. On not a 4+, they don't. So we'll see whether he attempts to summon, and has a 4, so he does. So he can either do an easy feat, which allows him to summon a wood fiend or a lichen hawk within 6 inches, or a medium feat, which allows him to summon a lichen hawk or a wood fiend within 12 inches, and then they immediately activate after the activation of the summoner is finished. So to make things fair, he has 4 AP, so I shall give him 2 chances. So I'll use the 1 AP, so 1 dice for the easy feat, and then 2 AP, which is 2 dice for the medium feat. So he has enough AP. So the easy feat fails because it got a 3. So for the medium feat, which he got a 6 and a 4, which is a roaring success. He got 3 successes when he needed 2. So he will summon a wood fiend within 12 inches. Now, because he's territorial, I will suggest that he's not actively kind of seeking out anyone because he's not in range. So I will place this wood fiend here. So because he did the medium feat summoning, well, he can't do anything else now. He hasn't got any ranged weapons. He can't summon anything else. Maybe if there was a player in control of him, he would make another attempt because he does have enough AP. But seeing as he's a feral character, I will move the activation straight to the wood fiend. So we shall see how the wood fiend reacts. So the wood fiend got 6, which is Glory Hunter. So they move their full movement and 2 legate rolls up to the character with the highest GP cost, which once again is the Sheriff. Now, wood fiends are a little bit slow and lumbering. So moves forward only 3 inches, but up to 2 legate rolls. Oof. So the first legate roll was a 5. So he moves up to here. And then the second legate roll, oof, is a 5 again. Now, because that's the second roll, it means that it's a failure, because the second roll fails on a 5 or a 6. So the Wood Fiend becomes prone. So, back to my turn. Back to my turn. I am going to activate... I'm going to activate this character here. And I believe he is... Pickles O'Reilly. Now, he is quite upset that this Wood Fiend attempted to attack his boss. So he's going to attempt to charge at the prone Wood Fiend. Now, the way that charges work is essentially they are legate rolls, but if at the end or during the legate roll that character gets into base contact with an enemy character, it counts as a charge. They get the AP back for their charge, so you have to spend an AP to do a legate roll, but if you get into base contact, you get it back. And yeah, it's a really good way of getting into combat without having to spend any extra AP. So he's going to move 4 inches. Now he's not quite in base contact, so he's going to have to leg it and hopefully charge. And a 1, perfect. He just makes it. So he has 2 AP to spend because he got his AP back, because he made it into base contact for the charge. And I am going to do just a second. Yeah, I'm going to do the thwack attack, which is a 2 AP cost, so I shall deduct 2 AP from the character and roll 6 dice, because it's a power of 6. Wasn't too great a roll, so we got a 5, a 4, so those are successes, so they're hits, and then 2 1s and 2 2s, so those are misses. So the Wood Fiend, now it's the Wood Fiend's turn to defend. Now, because he is prone, that means whenever he rolls his defense rolls, he rolls with a disadvantage, which means he rolls 2 dice and then chooses the lowest, which is absolutely brutal. You do not want to be caught in combat if you're prone. So first hit, defense attempt. Miraculously, he got a 5 and a 4, which means he saved that hit. So second roll. Now he did roll a 6, but because it was a disadvantage, you have to choose the 1. So he takes, or he loses 1 HP. Now Wood Fiend has, I believe, 6 HP. Let me just double check. Yeah, a Wood Fiend has 6 HP. So he has 5 HP left. So back to the Wild Elves' turn. So the warrior has activated, the Wood Fiend has activated, So next up it is the War Chief. So Azrael Bladesinger. So first we shall roll to see what his behaviour will be in this activation. So he got 5. Now 5 is Bully, so he moves towards the weakest character again, up to 2 Legate rolls. So where's my... So he moves 5 inches towards Muffin. Then the first Legate roll. Another 5 inches. Always coming awfully close. And then the second Legate roll is a 3. Which means he gets into combat with Muffin. Now the way that combat works is that almost all characters in ArcWorlde either have 1 attack, 2 attacks, or 3 attacks. And there are certain dice rolls that you do to determine which attacks feral characters will use in the round. But because a Wild Elf War Chief has 3 attacks, you roll a d3. And then if you 1 or a 2, you do the first one. 3 or a 4, you do the second one, or a 5 or a 6, you do the third one. So let's see which attack he will use first. So he rolled a 5. Oh, I'm getting lots of buzzers. Oh no, just people on Facebook. Thought, because usually, because I don't really check anything whilst I'm doing these, and sometimes if my phone's going mental, it means that the stream's been taken down. So he rolled a 5, which means he uses his third attack, which is Blood Rage. Right, it's a very powerful attack. 2 AP and a power of 10, so 10 dice need to be rolled. However, the attack can only be used if the War Chief has caused an enemy character to be knocked out in the same activation, which means he can't use it. So because he can't use it, I roll the dice again. This time it's a 4, which means he uses Deadly Strike, which is only a 1 AP attack, but does 5 power. So out of those 5 dice, we have 2 2s, which are failures, a 5 and 2 4s, which are all 3 of those are successes. So 3 hits are taken by Muffin. Now it's her turn to defend. So defense roll number 1. It's a 3. So because she'd lost that first defense roll, all of those 3 hits are taken as damage. So I'll just show you. Muffin has 6 HP, so she is on 3 HP. So now that he's done his first attack, we'll do another roll to see which attack he uses next. A 2. So that means he uses his first attack, which is Whirlwind. So each critical hit allows 1 more d6 to be rolled. It's a 2 AP attack, but it's a 7 power attack, which is absolutely brutal. And this is the thing with elves. Like, they're very, very much glass cannons. So if you can take them out before they get into combat, really try and do that, because once they're in there... So, 7 dice. So, 4. So actually it wasn't too bad for Muffin. So out of those 7, 4 were hits. Now, the special rule of that particular attack is that each critical hit allows you to roll an additional dice to do additional damage, which is absolutely brutal. I remember a demo game where I think one player got about 12 hits or something ridiculous with one of these attacks just because they were so lucky with rolling 6s. But in this instance, not so lucky for the War Chief, as Muffin takes only 4 hits. Unfortunately, she rolled a 2, which means all of those 4 hits are taken as HP, and she goes from 3 to 0, and she's knocked out. So don't worry, guys. She's just sleeping. Oh, music's finished. I'm going to put that back on. So in ArcWorlde, no characters really die. It's kind of Pokemon rules. So if they are knocked out in a game, they are removed from the game, but they're not killed. So when the campaign rules are released later on in the year, you will be able to kind of reuse the characters. So don't worry, you'll have to essentially hire a new warband because they're all dead if you have a particularly bad loss. Now, because he hasn't got anyone in base contact, and because it is the feral warbands, the way that the rules work is that they are generally quite aggressive. So it is the kind of the job of the halflings to collect the Arcanite tokens, but it's just the job of the wild elves just to knock out as many of them as possible. So I'm going to use the Fey Blade that he's equipped with, you can see in his stat profile, to do a ranged attack against this character here. Now, as I said before, a Fey Blade is a particularly special weapon. It's one exclusive only to the elves, and that allows them to essentially use it as both a ranged attack and as a great weapon or a two-handed weapon. So in this instance, I'm using it as a ranged weapon. Let me just check what the elves' ranged weapon is. So the wild elves' ranged weapon, it's a power of 6 and a range of 16 inches. So I would say most definitely that character is within 16 inches. So I'll get my... Actually, no. Hold on, just bear in mind. Let's get that back. So he's done the... I'm just trying to remember the exact wording of the solo play rules. So now that he has essentially completed the kind of the outcome of the behavior roll, you know, he charged towards the cheapest enemy character, knocks them out. He then attempts to use his traits, and because he only has he has 2 AP left, he will do 2 attempts at summoning a wood fiend. So attempt number 1 is a failure. I only got 1. Second attempt, which is a double, so 6 counts as 2. So the wood fiend is successfully summoned. So he is summoned here. Now, this is a very interesting position for the Wood Fiend to be in. As if you can see, both of these 2 characters have torches. Now, torches are quite special items in ArcWorlde. Almost all, I think all factions have access to them. and essentially they are good against flammable targets. So if the character has flammable in their stat profile as a trait, the torch will do extra power against them. But also against flammable targets, but also against, actually I think it is against, anyway, carry on. Against beasts, monsters and titans. So beasts are kind of the smaller creatures, monsters are like the kind of the medium to large creatures like trolls and such, and then titans are like the dragon or the Arcadid Queen. Essentially the torch forces them to make a bravery test or run away. Now because the Wood Fiend was summoned in base contact with the guy with the torch, this character here, and he is flammable, he's mainly made out of wood, it means that he is going to immediately have to take a bravery test. So the way a bravery test works is, let me just get his stats profile up. So splintered 1. So as you can see, we've got a bravery of 7. So I have to attempt to roll under 7. If I roll 7 or above, that I've failed the bravery test. Now that means normally if it was a normal character they would just run away, but because the splintered one is a summoned creature, essentially the magic that binds them crumbles and they are knocked out. So we shall see how he does. So amazingly, he rolled a 5, which means that he stays in combat. He manages to hold on to the magic that binds him. Now, fortunately for him again, he is also within 3 inches of this character, who also has a torch. So he's going to have to do it again. But miraculously, he manages it, rolling a 6. So against all of the odds, the splintered one stays up and ties up this character in combat. So that's the end of the Wild Elves' turn. So we shall now go on to my go. Now it kind of makes sense that I activate this militiaman here. Now I'm in base contact with the splintered one, so I'm just going to attack him. Torch number 1. So this is Jimothy Spat. So I think Jimothy is going to do 2 1 AP attacks rather than 1 2 AP attack. So thrust. Now because the Wood Fiend, the splintered one, is a flammable target, all attacks with a flammable weapon such as a torch do +1 power. So normally the thrust would be 4 dice, as it is a 4 power attack. I will roll 5 dice. So, see how we go. That was a horrific roll. Literally none of those hits landed. This is a truly charmed Wood Fiend. But because he has 1 AP left, I shall do that again. Once again, an absolutely shocking display. All of those hits fail. This Wood Fiend is an absolute beast. So, that's my activation over. I've spent all of my AP, so it's now on to the Wood Fiend's turn. Now, normally I would do a behaviour roll, but as he is already in combat, it negates that. So, and also, because the Wood Fiend has 2 attacks, one of them is a ranged attack, because he's in combat, he can't use that ranged attack. So, he is just going to use Razor Bark for 4 hits. So 3 of those hits go in. So I will now attempt to defend them. So defense roll number 1. That's a failure on a 2. So Jimothy is now on to 3 HP, as Jimothy it has 6 HP when he's feeling healthy. So now the splintered one will attempt another attack. Once again, 4 dice. Oof! All 4 hit. So I feel like potentially I might need to remove this, so nope. So the first hit is defended, but the second one isn't. So 2 hits taken by Jimothy. No, hang on. That was 4, didn't it? Wasn't it? So 3 hits are taken by Jimothy. So he's reduced to 0 HP. And he is removed from the board. Now, because a friendly character within 3 inches of the second torchbearer, whose name is Fred Timble, because a friendly character within 3 inches has been knocked out, he now has to make a bravery roll. Now, his bravery is 7, so for him to stay strong, he's going to have to roll under 7. But unfortunately, he rolls an 8, which means he runs his full movement stat, which is 4 inches, directly away from the Wood Fiend. Now he counts as being broken, so I'm going to have to attempt to rally him when it's my round again. Unless if I fail that roll, he's just going to keep running and then leave the board. So it's my turn again now. So I shall, as it seems quite topical, I shall activate Fred. Now to attempt to rally him, I shall do another bravery test. Now he rolled a 7. Now I believe, I think I know, but let me just double check. If you roll exactly their bravery, it still counts as a fail. Oh no, equal to or less. So he has a bravery of 7, I rolled 7, so he rallies. So he's fine, he's chill now. So I am going to attempt to retaliate for my fallen comrade. So I shall move 4 inches. And then I'm going to attempt to leg it to get into combat with the splintered one. 3 inches. Yeah. Fred will exact his revenge. Now, because he charged into combat, he gets his AP back, so he still has 2 AP to spend. And once again, I think he's going to use 2 thrust attacks. But he gets an extra dice because he has a torch and the splinter one is flammable. Whew, that's more like it. So these 2 are failures. so they are discarded. But we have a 4 and 2 6s, so that's 5 hits. So the splintered one will attempt to defend those hits. Oop. Roll that again. So first one, so was 5, he's defended 1. 3. So those 4 are taken as damage, and the splintered one is down to 2 HP. Now I have 1 AP left for Fred, so I'll do that attack again. That's more like it, Fred. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hits. So defend number 1, 3, no. So the splintered one has been knocked out. Now, do not cheer overly much yet, Halfling fans. Splintered one, the destroyer of worlds, may have been temporarily subdued, but as he is a wood fiend, he can be summoned back by the elves in their next activation. So he may return to wreak vengeance upon Fred. So all the elves have activated already. So I am going to next activate this crossbowman here. So crossbow 1, Chips Johnson. Now Chips, I reckon he's in range of that wild elf wood fiend. No, it's not wood fiend, sorry, warrior. No, wait, yes he is. So he's going to spend both of his AP to make a shot at the wild elf warrior. Now you can't, it only needs 1 success to hit, but because it's a feat, you can essentially dedicate as many dice as you want to attempt the feat. And just to make doubly sure that it hits, I'm going to use both of my AP and spend them. So imagine like he's trying extra hard, really aiming. So 2 dice, and 5 and a 2. So the shot hits. So the halfling crossbow has a power of 5. So only one hits. So you have 3, a 3, 1, and a 3. So the wild elf warrior will defend the first one, and it's a 5. So the attack hits, but once again, the wild elf manages to dodge almost all the damage. Next, I'll activate this crossbowman here, who is Mickey Longshanks. So Mickey's going to try and take out this war chief. So he's going to spend both of his AP. Yep, it's in range. Take a shot. But get 1 and a 2, which means that the shot misses. So the next one to activate is this guy with a shield here. So that's Tommy Fish. So Tommy is going to he gets into combat. Now he didn't charge because he didn't have to leg it to get into combat, but seeing as he didn't spend any AP to move, it doesn't particularly matter. So he is going to spend 2 AP to do a thwack attack, which is 6 damage. Oof. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, because 2 6s, 5 for the 4. So 5 hits. Now once again, the Wood Fiend is prone. So I'm going to have to roll 2. Now once again, because I rolled 2 dice at disadvantage, the first one was a 6, which would have been great, but the second one, which is the lower one, is only a 1. So all that damage is done, and the Wood Fiend is slain. So the next one to be activated is the Sheriff. So the Sheriff, kind of enraged, like he thinks his men can take out the chief. He's going to go for the wild elf over here. So he's going to move 4 inches and then leg it. So that's 2 inches on the first roll. Two inches on the second roll. Do we dare risk a third? So on the third roll, he will fail on a 4, a 5, or a 6, but he could get even further towards the elves. What do you think, chap? Do you think that Geoffrey McTavish should carry on charging towards the wild elf, or do you think he should stay put? Do it, risk it, okay? On your heads be it. It's another 2. Another 2. McTavish goes that extra bit further. He's not a happy chappy. He wants revenge. So all of the characters have been activated, which means it's the end of the round, and the round starts again. Now, something's changed. Something changed in the battlefield. You can... The characters kind of caught in their own kind of combat hear a rumbling coming from a copse of trees from the side. The stomping gets louder and louder and louder. And with a mighty, mighty roar, the forest troll enters the game. Now, one of the things that we use a forest troll in these kind of games to do is be a bit of a random element and just cause mayhem and chaos wherever he goes. He's a big meaty boy, he does a lot of damage, can take a lot of hits, and the tide of the game can really be changed depending on when he arrives and who he randomly attacks. So when we start to roll initiative at the beginning of the round, we shall include the troll in those rolls. So we'll roll for initiative for the halflings, which is a 6. Initiative for the elves, which is a 1. And initiative for the troll, which is a 3. So that means the halflings go first. Now, this halfling here, who I believe Yep, Chips Johnson. He is rather taken aback by the appearance of the troll. He doesn't like trolls at all. His backstory is that his family were eaten by trolls when he was just a small boy before he moved to Dryfield and enrolled in the militia. So he has a bit of a vengeance. He wants to, not a vengeance. What's the word I'm looking for? A vendetta against trolls. So even though his sheriff, he arrived to take down the wild elves, now that the troll has appeared, his targets have changed. So he immediately takes a shot at the forest troll, spends 2 AP, a 1 and a 5, which is a hit. Does 5 power. So 1, 2, 3, 3 hits. Now the troll, let me get his stat profile up. I've called him Ornery Pete. Has 20 HP, so he is a big chunky boy. So those 3 hits, let's see how much of a chunk that can take out of his HP. So defense roll number 1 is a success. So he can roll the second, a 2. So the shot from Brave Chips takes off 2 HP, and the troll is on 18. Now it's the troll's go. So in the solo play rules, one of the things, because monsters have a rule called split activation. So because they're much bigger characters, they have a lot more HP, a lot more AP. Rather than forcing the player to kind of spend all of those AP in one go, leaving them essentially doing nothing for the rest of the round, you can essentially divvy up the amount of AP you have across a number of activations. So it allows you to kind of react to what's going on in the game. So first, when you have the troll as a feral character, you roll to see how many AP they will spend. So it's a D3. So 1 or a 2, he'll spend 1 AP. A 3 or a 4, he'll spend 2 AP. And a 5 or a 6, and he'll spend 3 AP. So he rolled a 3, which means that he will spend 2 AP this round. Well, this activation, should I say. Next, I'll do his behaviour roll to see how he acts. So he rolled a 3. So according to the rules, greedy. The feral character uses their free movement as well as 2-legged rolls to move towards any objectives, loot, or fabled artifacts if they have AP left to do so, and if they're able to, they must attempt to engage with the objective as described in this scenario. So, the objectives in this particular game are the Arcanite tokens. So, Ornery Pete is essentially going to attempt to barge his way in and grab that one. So he has a movement stat of 5. So he's going to move up to there, paying no attention to either the elf or the halfling. He's got his eyes on the prize. He wants that shiny. He's going to do a leg attempt. 2 inches. So he's in combat now. He's not in combat, he is in contact with the Arcanite crystal. Now, as said in the behaviour roll, if he has the AP to do so, he must interact with the objective, which means he's going to spend 1 AP to attempt to pick it up. And he gets a 6, which is 2 successes, which is more than enough. So he picks up the Arcanite token. So he's rushed in, seeing the shiny, and he's got what he wants. Now, because the kind of the rules in the outline of the behaviour role have been fulfilled, he now essentially can do whatever he wants, depending on what's around him and stuff like that. Now, because he is in base contact essentially with two characters at once, he will attempt to attack one of them. Now, if a feral character is in base contact with more than one character, they target the one with the lowest amount of HP. So the character with the lowest amount of HP in this particular instance is the halfling. Now, lucky enough for the halfling, he has a torch, and torches are particularly scary towards trolls. So before the troll can actually attempt to attack the halfling, he must do a bravery test. Now he has a bravery of 8. If he passes that, he can then carry on as normal. He rolls a 4 and a 3, which is 7, so he's fine, he's chill. Say chill, he's going to try and attempt to attack the halfling. So he has... So he did a legate and attempted. So actually, he can't spend any more AP because at the start I rolled to see how many AP he would use. He's used up his 2 allocated AP, so that is his current activation done. So now it's the elves' turn. So we shall see, according to this, the Wild Elf War Chief is the closest to my characters, so he will activate first. So we shall roll on the behaviour chart to see how he will react. Which is a 6. So once again, Glory Hunter, so he shall move towards the nearest, or say the player character with the highest gold points cost. Now, because my highest player character is over here, because he's on an absolute one halfling mission to take this guy down, he's going to have to try and leave base contact with the troll to move over there. Now let me just double check and see what the rules are for leaving combat. If the character wishes to move out of base contact with the enemy, attempt an easy feat. If the character is in base contact with more than one enemy character, the feat difficulty increases by 1. If successful, the character moves as normal. If unsuccessful, the character remains where it is and loses 1 HP per enemy character in base contact. Cool. So, I will attempt, or should I say, the fellow character will attempt an easy feat, so a 4+, to move out of base contact with the troll. If that fails and he can't do what is said in the behaviour roll, he will attack whoever is in base contact, which is the troll itself. A 4. So it is a success. So he can move out of base contact with the troll. So that's 5 inches. Then a legate roll, 3 inches, and he's in base contact with the sheriff. So I'm not sure how this is going to go now. That was a real kind of change of direction. I thought I had things under wraps there, but my sheriff is alone, and now sandwiched in between 2 very angry looking wild elves. So we shall see which attack Alarish will do first. Let me just get his Azrael, should I say. So roll a d3. So a 4. he will use Deadly Strike, which is 1 AP. So he has 4 AP left. He spent 1 AP to leave combat with the troll. He spent another AP to charge, but then got it back because he made it into base contact. So he now has 4 AP to spend. So that's 1, 2, 3. 3 hits. Now, if you look at the sheriff's stats, if you look here, he has light armor. Now, how armor works in ArcWorlde is that. Pardon? Sorry, the cat wants some water. Yeah. So the way that armor works in ArcWorlde is that it essentially deducts the number of hits that your character takes before you've even done any defense rolls. Light armor or light armor equivalent gives you +1 armor, which means that you deduct 1 from any hits done to you. If you have heavy armor or the equivalent, it does 2. It deducts 2, and so on and so forth. And now the sheriff has light armor, which is +1 armor if you check on the halfling's armory. So out of those 3 attacks, 1 is automatically removed. So we'll roll the first one, and that's a 6. So that is absolutely fine. That damage is negated completely. So we shall see which attack the wild elf does next. A 1. So it's his 2 AP attack, which is Whirlwind. So 7 dice. That was quite lucky for me. So only 4 were successes. No criticals, so he doesn't get to roll any more. So once again, the light armor removes 1 of those, and we shall see how it goes. So 1 is defended, 2 more to go. And that one is failed. So Jeffrey is now down to 8 HP. Now, the wild elf has 1 more AP. He only has 1 attack, which is 1 AP, so that's all he can do. So she'll do that again. Hang on, sorry, roll that again. It's 5 power. 1, 2, 3. 3 hits. Light armor removes 1, so 2 hits. And that's a 3. So those 2 hits go through and cause damage. So he is now on to 6 HP. So he's starting to sweat. He's starting to sweat, Tad. So it's the wild elf's go's gone. So now it's back to my go. So he's already gone. So the second crossbowman, who is down here. So Mickey Longshanks, he's seeing his boss in danger. He's going to try and run in and help. So he will move 4 inches there, and then he will attempt to leg it, which is a 5. Pretty much the perfect roll. So he goes right there, and then he is going to attempt to shoot at the elf. Now, shooting into combat is very, very risky but it can be done. The only thing is that if you fail your roll to shoot, so the feat required to shoot, you actually hit your friendly character. So this is an act of desperation. He's really trying to save the sheriff, but because he spent that extra 1 AP to get into this position, he's only got 1 AP left. He is going to attempt with 1 dice. And he rolls a 5. So despite the nerves racking his body, he manages to land the shot, missing his boss, the sheriff, entirely. So it's a 5 power attack. And it's not a bad roll indeed. So that is 4 successes. So a critical, which counts as 2, and 2 normal successes. And now the Wild Elf War Chief is going to attempt to save them. So that's 1 hit saved, 2 hits saved. And that was a failure. So the War Chief takes 2 damage. He has 14 HP, so he is down to 12. So it's the Troll's turn. Ornery Pete. So back up to the top. Now, first I roll to see how many AP he's going to spend. So he's only going to spend 1 AP, and on his behaviour roll, it's a 3, which is greedy again. Now, because he is in base contact, so normally he would move towards the nearest Arcanite token because he's feeling greedy this activation, but because he's already in base contact with the Halfling, he stays in base contact and fights as normal. So, because the Troll, I believe, only has 1... Yeah, he only has one AP attack. He will automatically use that one, which is Smash. So Smash is 6 power, so 6 dice, but critical hits make the target character prone. So this could be potentially very, very dangerous. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is 5 damage for that halfling. He's going to attempt to defend himself. That's 1. So all 5 damage is taken. He loses. Where is it? He loses 5 HP. He's on 1, but now he is prone. So he is in a really, really bad position. So the Troll's turn has gone. So now it's back up to the Wild Elves. Just a second. So back up to the Wild Elves and the Wild Elf Warrior's turn. So we'll roll on the behaviour chart to see how it works. So it's a 2. So the 2 is territorial. The feral character does not move unless a player control character is within 3 inches. If so, they must immediately spend their free movement towards them and engage in melee combat. Now, I do believe that the sheriff is within 3 inches, and he is. So the elf moves into base contact. This is not looking good. This is not looking good. So we shall see which attack he uses. So he has 2 attacks. So on a 1 or 2 or 3, he uses the first one. A 4 or 5 or 6, he uses the second one. So rolled a 4, which means he uses 1 AP to do a wicked slash, which is 5. Oof. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits there. Now let me just check the damage. In addition, just a second. So in addition to doing all that damage, the special rules on the attack means that if a critical hit is rolled, ignore 1 armor. So that means that the Halfling Sheriff not only takes those 5 hits, but his armor that would normally remove 1 of those hits is completely negated. So he takes the full 5 hits. So first defense attempt is a 1. So he is down to 1 HP, and the elf has 3 AP left. So to see what his next attack is, it's a 4, so it's the same attack again. Another pretty good roll. 5 hits again. He rolled a critical, so his armor is negated. And that's it. It put up a brave fight, but unfortunately, Sheriff McTavish has been knocked out and is now a prisoner of the elves. Oof, that was that wasn't great. So back to my go. So both of my crossbowmen have been activated. I think I'm probably going to try and save this guy's skin. So because he's prone, I will attempt to get him up. So to get up after being prone is an easy feat. So if I actually no, wait, let me just double check, because this is a particular rule that has kind of been chopped and changed quite a bit over the process of writing the rules. Yeah. So the character must spend 1 AP or sacrifice all movement during the activation to dust themselves off and stand up again. So I'm feeling pretty brave, so I'm going to stand up and sacrifice my free movement. So he was on 1, I think. So he is going to attack the troll. I'll spend 1 AP to do a thrust attack. Hang on, let me get the Fred. So Fred will use thrust attack now because the troll is flammable, I believe. He might be flammable. Let's double check. Oh, he's not flammable. No, I thought he was. No problem. So four dice. 1, 2, 3 hits. So the troll will attempt to defend. 1, 2, so 2 damage. So 2 wounds are taken, so he's down to 16. And then Fred will do that attack again. pretty much the same roll, so another 3 hits. And that's a 1. So the troll is down to 13 HP. So it's the troll's turn again. So he's spent 3 of his AP, so 2 in the first activation, 1 in the next activation, and see how many he spends in this activation. 3, so 2 AP. Now he's already in combat, so there's no point rolling on. I'll roll on the I'll roll on the behavior chart just because. So a 4. Rampage. The feral character spends their free movement roll up to 2-legged rolls to move towards the nearest player control character engaged in melee combat. Cool. So he's got 2 AP, so I'll see which attack he uses. For 1. So he uses the first attack on his stats profile, which is Smash again, which is 1 AP. So that is 6 dice. And he would got off pretty lightly actually. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 failures. 1 success, so he's only got 1 hit to defend, but he fails it. So Fred is down. So Ornery Pete, he has done his what was in the rules of his behavior roll. So he's can't really do anything else in terms of because he's with it. So he will use his free movement to move towards the next nearest player character. Unfortunately, which is this character here, and he's going to spend his last AP to smash him again. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now, unfortunately, because the troll rolled a 6, it means that even if he survives this attack, as he will survive this attack, he becomes prone immediately afterwards. So he has 3 hits to defend. Now, this is another interesting point to make. Lord Maiden, yes, but the troll had already passed the bravery test to get within those 3 inches. So once he's within that 3 inches, he only needs to take that test again if he moves out those 3 inches. So because this character has a shield, so Tommy Fish has a shield. What a shield does, it essentially allows you to hang on, let me just double check. I believe this is the case. Yeah. So because he's been given a shield, he can re-roll 1 failed defense roll per round. So, first defense roll, 2, so that was a 6, so he defends 2. So the last one, oh, that was cocked. Brilliant. So he's absolutely fine. Absolute beast, manages to tank both of those, all 3 of those hits. And that's the end of the troll's turn. So he's spent another 2 of his AP, so now he is down to 5 AP. So now it is the elf's turn. Now, because both of the elves were focused on slaughtering poor Sheriff McTavish, they haven't actually summoned back any of the Wood Fiends or the Lycanhawk, so both of them have been activated already. So it's back to my go. So the only guy I've got left to activate, I believe, is this character here, who is Pickles O'Reilly. So Pickles, once again, is furious that this troll has just turned up and absolutely destroyed the entire right flank of the halfling line. So he's going to move right into combat and give him a piece of his mind. So he is going to spend both of his AP to do a thrust attack. Is it a thrust? Oh, a thwack attack, sorry. That is quite a good roll, so 6 damage. I believe there are other special rules. Let me just check. A critical hit allows the player to re-roll 1 failed hit. So he has 2 failed hits. I got 2 criticals, so no, that was a fail. Oof. So another critical, and that critical allows me to re-roll that. Oof! Now that is an absolutely beast roll. Les has just reminded me that the troll is meant to cause fear to the halflings. That is something that I completely forgot. Sorry about that, gang. I will start using that rule again in the next round. But before then, I am going to roll all of these dice. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so that's 10 hits. So let's see how well the troll does defending all these. Not very well. Not very well at all. So the troll is now down to 3 wounds. Now this is a little bit disheartening for the troll. First of all, it means that he loses it because he's a larger creature. As they lose HP, they essentially weaken and get tired a little bit. So they lose D3 AP when they get below 50%, which is a 6. So they lose 3 AP, and they only had 3 AP left. So that troll can't activate anymore. However, because he is on such low HP, he activates a rule called Death Throes. And this is a rule, once again, this is another rule that is specific to the larger creatures, the larger monsters. So let me just get it up so I can read you exactly what the words are. So Death Throes. A creature is at its most dangerous when it is mortally wounded. When this character is reduced to 20% of its HP or less, it may reroll 1 dice per activation. So this means that now that they're essentially on their last legs, they get desperate and they fight even harder. And with that, this is the end of that round. So it's the start of the next round. So everyone's AP comes back, and we shall roll initiative again. This potentially could be the final round. It's not looking good for the halflings. So 6 for the halflings, 5 for the elves, and a 6 for the troll. So we shall re-roll the halflings and the troll. So 2 for the halflings, 5 for the troll. So, but now like so that it'll go troll, elves, halflings. So now that the troll is only on 5 AP, we shall start his activation. So first of all, we shall see how much AP he will spend. So just the 1 AP, and now we shall see what his behaviour roll will be. So that's a 3, which is greedy again. He's pretty greedy, is this troll. So because he's in combat, he's going to attempt a smash attack on this halfling. So that's 6. So that's 4 hits. So 1. Nope, because he's got a shield. Still a 1. So 4 hits. 4 damage, so he's reduced to 2 HP, and is prone. So it's the elf's turn. So I shall activate the war chief because he is the nearest to one of my characters. So we shall see how he acts. So a number 1. So a number 1 is he is timid. So the feral character spends their free movement to move away from the nearest player control character towards the closest area with no other player control characters within 3 inches. So that essentially means he moves 5 inches away from what an absolute coward. Now, because he has done the outlines of the behaviour roll, he can now do the rest of his kind of combat stuff like that. Now he does have a ranged weapon, the Fey Blade. So he will spend 1 AP to make 1 shot at this halfling here. Oh no, wait, sorry, I need to do the shoot roll first. So that's a success. 6 power. And that's 4 hits. We will see how the halfling defends himself. 1, 2, 3. No, so pretty good outcome. He only takes 1 damage, and he is down to 5 wounds. So that is the end of the wild elf's turn. Hang on, let me just crack the music back on again. And it's now my go. That was my go. So I'm going to sacrifice this guy's free movement for him to get up. And he is... oh, just a second. And he is going to attack the troll. So that allows me to re-roll 2 failed ones. Boom. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that was an absolutely amazing roll. So that is 8 damage, 8 hits. So let's see how the troll gets on. 1. No. And with a mighty whack to the shins of the troll, he brings it down, and Ornery Pete is knocked out. So this could be an amazing turnaround for the halflings. ordinary Pete's down, he drops the Arcanite Crystal. So now it is the elves' turn again. So we shall do the Wild Elf Warriors. So he's rolled a 5 on his behaviour roll, which means Bully. The feral character spends their full movement as well as 2 Legate rolls to move towards the player controlled character with the lowest HP and engage them in melee combat. So the lowest HP is Pickles back here because he's only on 2 HP. So he will move 5 and then 2 Legate rolls. Legate roll number 1, which is 5. Which means he gets into combat with, oh no, he gets there. And 3, so yeah, he gets in. So he's got 4 AP left. We shall see which attack he will do next. So that's a 6, so he shall do his 3rd attack. So he only has 2 attacks, so he will use the 1 AP Wicked Slash, which is 5 dice. Each critical hit ignores armor, but it's okay, he doesn't have any armor. So that's 1, 2 hits. So now he has to defend. That is a failure, but because he has a shield, he can re-roll. That is also a fail. So down he goes. Now, because he has been knocked out, and these 2 are within 3 inches, he needs to take a bravery test. So this one first. That is a fail. So he moves 4 inches away. And then him. That is a 6, so he stays put. Right. Now it's my go. And I'm going to activate this crossbow militia. Oh, God. This crossbow militia. Mickey Longshanks. And I'm going to take a shot at the Wild Elf. So I'm going to use both of my AP. Actually, no. I'm going to do 2 quick shots. And that is a double success. So it's a hit. So 5 power. So those are failures. Oof. Only 1 hit. See whether the elf defends. Nope. So the elf is down to 9 HP. And he will do another shot. Once again, a 6. So a perfect hit. That's more like it. 4 hits. So see if the elf can defend these. No. So he is down to 5. So both of the elves have gone. So I'm going to activate this guy here, who is Pickles O'Reilly, I believe. Maybe Tommy Fish. And first of all, I'll see if I can rally him. Yeah, so he is fine. Okay. Now, in the final stages of the game, I'm going to attempt something which is a big part of ArcWorlde. I'll obviously be introducing this more often in future games where, like, once I've kind of got used to the setup and I can kind of delve into the game a little bit more. But one of the big parts of ArcWorlde, and it's one of the things that a lot of our players really enjoy, is the ability to customize and create custom feats in the game. So if you have an idea of something that's really, really cool, you can essentially give it a shot and kind of role play it a little bit. So in this instance, I'm going to suggest a feat where Tommy Fish flings his axe right at the wild elf's face, which is not so. This is not normally an action in the game, but using the feat system and kind of role playing things a tad, I will suggest a kind of an epic feat where he just absolutely wings that axe and hits the elf straight in the face. Now, the way that this works is that you and your opponent decide on a scale of 1 to 4 how hard that would be. So is it an easy feat, a medium feat, a hard feat, or a legendary feat? So, seeing as I'm not against an opponent, because I'm playing against the AI essentially, what do you in the chat suggest? How hard do you think it would be for that halfling to throw the axe right at the elf? Cast your votes now. Dagfin's suggesting a medium feat. Mal is suggesting a hard feat. So the way that you work out damage with the feat system is that each difficulty of feat causes a maximum of 3. So medium feat would, like an easy feat would cause 3 hits. A medium feat would cause 6 hits. And a hard feat would cause 9 hits, and a legendary feat would cause 12. So the guys in the chat are saying a hard feat. So if this is pulled off, it will cause. I'll get to roll 9 attempts, but I am going to have to pass a hard feat to do it, and I only have 2 AP. So this will require one of these dice to be a 6 and the other one to be a 4 or a 5 or a 6. So this, if this is pulled off, this could turn the tide of the game. No, that wasn't a great roll. So even if we had gone for medium feat, it still wouldn't have happened because both of those dice are failures. So unfortunately, the Tommy Fish, he thought he was going to save the day by throwing his hand axe right at the elf that's been decimating his men, but it just sails straight past his shoulder. And the elf turns to look at him and says in an elven tongue, "You are next." So that is all of the characters have been activated in this round, and that's the end of this round. Now, would you guys like to see another round and finish this off, or do you all think that you've seen kind of enough of the game for tonight and we can call it a night? What do you think? Cast your votes in the chat. last round. Happy for one more round, then call it. I could see one more round. Okay, the chat has spoken. We shall play one more round. So we shall roll initiative for both. So for the halflings, halflings is a 5, and the wild elves is a 6. So the wild elves go first. Now, the warrior is the closest to the player control character, so he will go first. Roll on the behavior chart. It's a 3. So he is greedy. He wants to get that swag. So he will move up to the Arcanite token, see whether he picks it up. And he does. And seeing as he doesn't have a ranged weapon, he will use the rest of his AP to attempt to summon. So he has 3 AP left, so I will do 1 easy summon and 1 medium summon. So the easy summon is a success. The Wood Fiend is placed in base contact with that halfling, and then the medium summon is also a success. So I'm going to place the Lycan Hawk in base contact with that guy. Now, because of the medium summon, it does mean that they can be activated immediately after the activation of the summoner has ended. So we go to the Lycan Hawk's turn. So the Lycan Hawk is the first time he's actually appeared in this game. So there's his stats, Skyleaf. So he will roll on the behavior chart to see how he reacts. A 3, greedy again. So if he manages to knock out this character, he will attempt to fly to one of these Arcanite tokens and try and pick it up. So because the character is in base contact with one of my characters, he has to attack. So he has 2 attacks, so we'll see which one he uses. A 2, so a peck, which is a power of 4. So that is 3 hits. So see how the halfling does. Nope. So he's down to 2 HP. And then because the Lycan Hawk only has 1 AP left, he can't use his other attack, so we'll be using Peck again. 3 hits. See how the halfling manages. A 4, so he's got 2 left. And no. The halfling is knocked out. So it's my go. I'm going to activate Tommy Fish again, who is increasingly desperate to save himself and his men. So I'm going to suggest he's probably going to do another feat. Now he's thrown his axe away, so he can't throw that again, but he does have his shield. So I suggest that he grabs his shield and kind of Captain America flings it at the wild elf, who's stood there posing arrogantly as he knows that he has the game in his hands. So what do you think, chat? What level of feat would you say it would take for a halfling to fling a shield at a halfling. Medium, hard, medium. So we're gonna go with, oh, still got to be hard. One more vote, either way a shield is hard. Okay, the chat has spoken. It'll be a hard feat. So he's only got 2 AP. So let's see how it goes. Nope. Once again, he flings the shield clumsily at the elf, who kind of watches it land on the floor there and kind of just turns his nose up at it. So now Tommy Fish has neither a weapon or a shield, so he is in an incredibly difficult position. So it's back to the wild elves, and so the Warrior has gone, the Lycanhawk has gone, so the remaining elf is the War Chief. So to see how he reacts. Actually, no, sorry, I take that back. They've got a Wood Fiend here, I've missed him. So the Wood Fiend's already in combat, but just see how he would react. A 6, so Glory Hunter, so he actively seeks out the character who has the highest gold cost, who is the one he's in combat with already. So we shall see which attack he will do. He's only got 2 attacks and he's already in combat, so he can't use his range attack. So it'll just be... Let me have a look. Yeah. So it'll just be 1 AP attack, which is a 4 damage. It's a pretty good roll. 3 hits. So the halfling will try and defend the first one, which he does. Second one, which he does. Third one, which he does. Excellent. However, unfortunately for the halfling, the Wood Fiend still has one more AP, which he will spend. But it's not that good a roll. So he's on 5. So 2 more. Oh, sorry, I can't. No. So he's now on to 4 HP. So now it's my turn, and I shall activate the crossbowman here. Now the crossbowman has the same stats as all the other halfling militia, so I'm going to use a thwack attack. Ooh. Yeah. Okay, so that's 2 crits. 2 crits and a success. Because of the special rules of the attack, I get to re-roll 2 of the failures. Nope. And yes. So that's 6 hits. Now this has the potential to knock out the Wood Fiend if it fails its defense roll, which it does. And the Wood Fiend crumbles into the dust once again. And now the Wild Elf War Chief's turn. So we shall see how he reacts. A 3, which is greedy. So he'll move towards that. Spend 1 AP to see whether he can pick it up, which he does. So both of the elves have an Arcanite token. Now, because he has a few AP left, he is going to attempt one shot of his Feyblade at Crossbowman. 16 inches. She's in range. See whether it hits. Which it does. It's a 6. And that does 6 damage. Sorry, 6 power. So, oof. It's 5 hits. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, so I think out of 5 hits, just getting, I don't know, 5 hits. He's got 3 HP left, and then the war chief, using his remaining 3 AP, will attempt to easy summon a Wood Fiend. Nope. Medium summon a Wood Fiend. Which is a success. And he... yeah. So he summons it in base contact with the crossbowman, and because it was a medium summon, the Wood Fiend can activate straight away. We'll see how they react. A 4. Which is Rampage. The feral character spends their free move as well as 2-legged rolls to move towards the nearest player's control character engaged in melee combat. Well, he was already kind of activated in melee combat. So we will do the attacks. Attack number 1. So that's 3 hits. And the second to last halfling goes down, and that is the end of that round. So at the end of that round, we have 2 wild elves, both with collected Arcanite tokens. They've summoned their minions, and only 1 halfling remains. His shield has gone, his weapon has been thrown away, and he stands alone and scared as the elves close in for the kill. And that is the end of the game. So thank you very much for watching me, guys. Like this, I was quite nervous about how this would go, seeing as it's the first time I've ever tried to stream a game, especially on my own. Like we did do a kind of a recording of a game before the Kickstarter, and my friends Ian, James, and Byron helped me with that. But yeah, how did you guys find it? I got beaten by the AI. So if you guys have any questions about how things went, any queries about the solo play rules whilst I'm here, I can stay for another 5 minutes or so, and then I think I'm going to call it a night. Did you enjoy the setup? Would you like to see more of these solo games in the future? Or would you like to play one of these games, whereas I would be in a chat with you and your opponent, maybe on Facebook or WhatsApp or whatever, and you would tell me what moves you'd want to do, and I would move the models accordingly. There you go, elves. Nice work, dude. Enjoyed it. Was confused as to why the war chief ran for the sheriff and not the troll, as he was the most expensive. That is because the solo play rules, the feral warbands always go for the player-controlled characters, not any characters on the board. So if you were against two feral warbands, kind of as I was, it is really quite a challenge. Was good. Seeing the warbard in action would be intriguing. I liked that. I was surprised the troll would go for the war chief as well, as I said to Mal, like it was because the feral warbands always go for the player characters. Was good. We think you should take it down as play a big beastie. Seeing the warbard in action would be intriguing. Absolutely. Unfortunately, I don't actually have access to my Beastfolk warband until the lockdown's lifted, because they are currently in my studio, which is at the moment locked down, but I'll be very happy to run a game with the other two factions so you guys can see how they play. Dagfin says it was a great watch. Keep in mind the halflings took on both a warband and a troll, absolutely. And I think they did the best that they could, but that troll really did mess things up for them. The troll really messed it up. I thought the halflings were going to smash it until then, absolutely. And that's one of the kind of the really fun parts of introducing those wild elements into the game. It can absolutely change how things go. So if you're playing a game with your friends and you have a wild monster or a wild warband kind of causing havoc and stuff like that, it can really shake things up. Robert Bassano, I joined late unfortunately. It's been quite joyful. The bloody elven are strong, yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's what I mean, like the wild elves are real glass cannons. If they have the ability to kind of cause damage, they are absolutely deadly. But if you keep them kind of what's I'm looking for? If you throw chod at them, keep them distracted, it's really quite easy to take down. Because that's the thing. Once you take down the actual elves, where they can't summon reinforcements and stuff like that, it doesn't really take that long until they collapse. Lord Maiden, I did like it rather a lot and would be interested in seeing it again. Seeing maybe more than two warbands would be interesting, absolutely. And like as I said, I've only got the wild elves and the halflings with me, but I do have a load of monsters, so potentially could play like a 3-for-all where because the troll actually. He's just under half the gold cost of one of these warbands, so I think if I were to do this again to make it more equal and have the troll on the board at the start, I'd probably give him some troggles to keep him company. Wayne says, feats of greatness are the way to play. Absolutely, feats can really change the tide of the battle. And like, I did try and introduce them a bit later on in the game, just so you guys would be more kind of acclimatized to the rules and things. I didn't want to kind of go in too hot or heavy at the start. So in future games, I'll be sure to make feats, custom feats. I mean, more of an active part. Right then, chaps, that'll be it for the stream tonight. As I said, thank you very much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the game and this kind of format. Let me know if you'd like to see some more of these, and I shall see you all the same time next week. Tatty bye, folks, and have a lovely evening.